I guess what I'm saying is, and I don't want to sound like I'm whining or fact-checking, which I hate, but what she's saying is the mirror image of the truth. She doesn't care. She's got no reference points in the truth, and she's an extremist. And she's a former prosecutor, and no former prosecutor should hold power, period. I've covered them my whole life. I've intensely disliked every single one of them for good reason. I think they're scary, they're liars, and they're megalomaniacal. And they put people in prison for political reasons. I've seen it again and again and again. And she's one of them.
Tucker Carlson went on his show and said all kinds of wild things, made all kinds of allegations about Kamala Harris being his normal far-right propaganda self. Kyle Kulinski of Secular Talk broke all this down. I'm going to show clips of Tucker Carlson saying these weird things about Kamala Harris that really have no merit. And we're going to see some clips of Kyle Kulinski talking about this. I'll give my thoughts from time to time. Let's check this out.
So Tucker Carlson did some live coverage thing of the DNC and of Kamala Harris's speech. And of course, he couldn't help but have a Tucker Carlson moment for us here. So he's going to react to part of Kamala's speech here and listen to his description of what Kamala is.
Consider what he intends to do if we give him power again. Consider his explicit intent to set free violent extremists who assaulted those law enforcement officers at the Capitol. His explicit intent to jail journalists, political opponents, and anyone he sees as the enemy.
Can I just interject here for a second? This woman's really scary. She could easily get elected president. She's much more skillful than I have ever seen. She's a liar on the deepest level. The things she is saying right now are not just untrue, they're the opposite of the truth.
Which things? Which things aren't true? Which things aren't true? I'm about to break it down for you in a second. It absolutely is true. Which things aren't true? Be specific.
Which is the hallmark of evil. She's an extremist. She'll say anything. She's much more like Gavin Newsom than I ever realized. I could go through a whole litany of why what she's saying is not true. It wasn't an armed mob. There's not one person inside the Capitol with a firearm, period.
Oh, my God.
The only person who was shot in the Capitol was an unarmed woman shot by one of Nancy Pelosi's bodyguards.
Oh, my God.
So again and again, she's telling us that she fought the cartels to secure the border. She's the border czar, and the border is controlled by the cartels.
The border is controlled by the cartels? Oh, my God. Oh, my. What am I going to do with these people, bro? God, by the way, you are the only audience in the country that knows the reality about the border. That, first of all, Republicans and Democrats are very conservative on the border. Second of all, under the Joe Biden administration, there were more deportations, both as a raw number and as a percentage. The Joe Biden administration deported more than Donald Trump did. He's such a liar.
She argued that Donald Trump, quote, tried to throw away your votes.
That's factual. They did the fraudulent elector slates. They wanted to make sure that they couldn't certify Joe Biden's election victory. That's what January 6th was all about. And by the way, they succeeded for a short period of time. And even after the violence on January 6th, Trump and his staffers were on the phone calling senators saying, don't certify Joe Biden's election victory. So what he's saying, what's being said by Kamala is 100% accurate. He tried to stay in power. This is not open to debate or discussion. This is a fact of reality. But wait, he's about to drop the anvil on your head. Ready?
Didn't the Democrat Party just throw away all the votes and install her?
Well, exactly.
Exactly. It's not that Joe Biden is 472 years old and everybody, including Republicans, were like, hey, he's got to go. He doesn't have the mental capability to do it. And eventually, there was enough pressure where he said, you know what? I don't have the ability to do this. I'm going to step down. I can't be president for another 4 years. I'm struggling as it is right now. And then she, as the vice president, stepped in. Because by the way, if Joe Biden were to die in office, what would happen? Oh, that's right. Kamala Harris would be president. She's next in line. So Joe Biden, who was a nominee, by the way, Kamala Harris was on the name of the ballot when people voted for Joe Biden, he steps aside, right? What do you think is going to happen? Of course, the vice president is going to be the one. They're conflating Trump trying to overthrow a Democratic election with Joe Biden willingly stepping aside. They know how weaselly this is.
Kyle Kulinski is exactly right. And one of the things that's so funny to me about this entire election is that the Republicans suddenly act like they care about democracy. The Republicans who always, if you say, oh, we're a democracy, and no, we're not, we're a republic. That's what the Republicans say. But that they really care about Democrats' votes. It's like all the Democrats who we think are evil communists and destroying the country, we're very concerned that their votes were taken away from them. The Republicans don't care about that. So that is one of the funniest things to me about all of this.
Donald Trump will free from prison violent extremists, meaning like 75-year-old lower middle class women with diabetes?
No. Tucker Carlson, you propagandist. She's talking about the January 6th insurrectionists that Donald Trump has said over and over and over again that he would pardon. Violent extremists, people who are in prison for being violent.
I think he's alluding there to Alice Johnson, which was one of the best things Trump did, and I'm willing to give credit where credit's due. And I gave him a phenomenal amount of credit on the Alice Johnson thing.
Defunding the police and opening the prisons to allow actual criminals out, which is why the crime rate has spiked.
Imagine spreading the lie that you believe, oh, Kamala Harris is going to defund the police. The meme on the left is that Kamala is a cop. She's a cop. She was a prosecutor. You can't say simultaneously, too tough on crime. Kamala's a cop. She's a prosecutor, and she went after too aggressively people, and then be like, oh, she's gonna free open all the prisons, and
Now I would disagree with Kyle Kulinski here. Tucker Carlson absolutely can do that. He's going to do that in this clip that we see here. They can hold two Republicans can have two conspiracy theories that are completely opposite for each other. What did they say about Barack Obama? He was a sleeper cell Muslim terrorist, and he also was a radical black Christian who went to a radical black church. Same thing, Joe Biden is this horrible, evil taskmaster who is behind putting Donald Trump in jail, and he's also this doddering old fool who drools on himself. So it doesn't matter. The Tucker Carlson can throw out two conspiracies and two insane beliefs that completely contradict each other.
The police and opening the prisons
defunding the police,
allow actual criminals out, which is why the crime rate has spiked, to allow the population of Venezuela's prisons, Caracas's prisons, are now living in the United States.
Oh my God. He's just repeating Trump lies now. Trump goes out there all the time and says, the criminals, the rapists, all these bad people from other countries, they're emptying their prisons and they're sending them here. They're emptying their prisons and they're sending them here. And our crime rate's going up and their crime rate's going down. Well, first of all, it's not true. Our crime rate has been going down. That's a fact. Second of all, to the extent that argument has ever been true, there was one time where it was verified and recorded that another country emptied their prisons and sent those people here. It was from Cuba. And all of those Cuban criminals were welcomed with open arms by the Republican Party. Why? Because they were likely to vote Republican. Because they're against Fidel Castro. They view all Democrats as basically communists like Fidel Castro. So they vote Republican loyally, election after election. And all of the Republicans said, welcome. In fact, they made it so if Cubans step foot on soil in America, they're immediately citizens. So the one time prisons were actually emptied, and they came here, the Republicans said, yay, criminals here. Oh my God.
I guess what I'm saying is, and I don't want to sound like I'm whining or fact-checking, which I hate, but what she's saying is the mirror image of the truth. She doesn't care. She's got no reference points in the truth, and she's an extremist. And she's a former prosecutor, and no former prosecutor should hold power, period. I've covered them my whole life. I've intensely disliked every single one of them for good reason. I think they're scary. They're liars. And
here's the thing where Tucker contradicts himself, can have two contradicting cases against Kamala Harris that neither one makes sense. So she's weak on crime. She wants to release all these bad people from prison, except for the January 6th people who are good people that Donald Trump wants to release from prison. They're good people, these violent criminals. But Kamala Harris wants to let bad people out of prison. But she also is a former prosecutor, and prosecutors are evil and you can't trust them, and they're corrupt, and they're these horrible people who should never have power. So which is it, Tucker? Is she this hard-nosed prosecutor who's going to put people in jail? Now, of course, he thinks she's going to put people that he likes in jail. So these right-wing extremists who, if they commit violent acts, should be put in jail. He doesn't like that his buddies are going to go to prison.
And they're megalomaniacal. And they put people in prison for political reasons. I've seen it again and again and again. And she's one of them.
Unbelievable. All that was unbelievable. Oh my God. For their main argument is that Kamala's a liar, and that's why she's bad. Kamala is a liar. You have any thoughts on Trump? 30,573 false or misleading claims in 4 years by Trump. That's just 4 years. Now, by the way, let's be kind to them, okay? Let's be reasonable here. Let's say, well, the Washington Post is bad. I don't agree with all of their interpretations of what does and doesn't count as a lie. All right, let's cut it in half. Just over 15,000 lies told in 4 years.
And everybody knows that Trump lies all the time, but a propagandist like Tucker Carlson would say, well, they all lie. So it doesn't matter. They're politicians, they all lie. But Kamala Harris's lies are worse because she's evil, she's the hallmark of evil, and she's going to put my right-wing friends in prison for no reason, except for the fact that they committed violent acts. So Kyle Kulinski is right about this, and the American people know this is why Kamala Harris is probably going to win the election. Do the American people think she tells the truth all the time? Probably not. I do think most people look at all politicians as liars to some degree. But do they look at, does the majority of the country look at Kamala Harris the same way they do Donald Trump in terms of lies? I would say no. But Trump or Tucker Carlson, who once said that he hated and despised Donald Trump, is MAGA through and through because that's how he stays relevant for the time being. Now, it's going to be interesting after Trump is no longer in the picture, if he loses and then, he gains less and less favor in the country being a two-time loser, what will happen with Tucker Carlson? I suspect Tucker Carlson will pretend like he never supported Donald Trump and was never a part of MAGA.
Kamala Harris is a liar. She's a liar. I can't. These people are partisan hacks. You know what the difference is between us and them? You know what the difference is? I am more than willing, where it is necessary and where it is correct, to say, Kamala's lying about that. This policy right here is unacceptable. We've done it 1,000 times, especially when it comes to her foreign policy portion of her speech. All the evidence indicates she's going to continue Joe Biden's policy. On the left, or 90% of them are calling that out and being honest and being accurate about it. The difference is we actually can critique our own side when it's fair.
And I think Kyle Kulinski is completely right about this. Now, not the just Democratic Party establishment people. I would disagree with him on that, and I'm sure he would say the same thing. The Democratic Party establishment people, they're on a team. They're going to defend Kamala Harris no matter what she says. But Kyle Kulinski and these other actual progressive left-wing hosts are going to call her out when she does something wrong or when she lies. Tucker Carlson is not going to do that in terms of Donald Trump. He's, the people like him, Vivek Ramaswamy is everywhere now licking Trump's boots. They're going to twist themselves into knots and logic pretzels to defend Trump on everything. January 6th was no big deal. It was a peaceful guided tour of the Capitol, blah, 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 all these same lies. And Tucker Carlson is going to do this because Tucker Carlson's job is to do right-wing propaganda. That's what Tucker Carlson exists for, and he's, I'm sure, making a lot of money from that. But what do you think? Do you agree with Kyle Kulinski here with what he's saying, this critique of Tucker Carlson? Maybe you agree with Tucker Carlson that Kamala Harris just lies about everything and he doesn't really explicitly defend Trump in these clips that we saw here, but we know that he does constantly. So which side are you on? Kyle Kulinski, Tucker Carlson, neither? Make sure to leave me a comment. I like seeing your comments. Make sure to give me a like and subscribe. My channel is growing really fast. The likes and subscribes help it to continue to grow even more and more so I can make more content like this. This is Chris on Culture, and I will see you in the next video.